Well, I don't think many people saw this happening. In the men's 1500 meters, in the 2025 World Championships, we famously had many fast athletes towing the line for this opening round. And for these initial 4 races, we had some very quick athletes running. We had Josh Kerr, the defending world champion from 2023. We had Jake Whiteman, the 2022 world champion in the 15. And also running in the 4th and final heat was the 2021 Olympic champion, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, who famously is one of the very few people to ever break 3:27 in the 1500. Now, on paper, Jakob comes into this race with a huge amount of momentum. He broke the world record during this indoor season in the mile, he was last year's 5,000-meter Olympic champion, and he's run some of the quickest 1,500 times in history. However, he has been dealing with a nagging and unrelenting Achilles injury for much of this outdoor season. And even though he had not raced going into this year's World Champs, he decided to give it a try. He decided to get himself in shape and show up for this 1,500. And even though some still had Jakob making the podium, that is just not what happened. For this qualifying heat, Jakob never really found himself running strong. He was struggling through much of the opening laps, he found himself in second to last place for much of this race, and then over the final 400 meters, he did position himself in the top 6 at one point, which is required in order to make it into the semifinals. However, down the home stretch, he was passed by 3 or 4 people, and he ended up finishing in 8th, only achieving a time of 3 minutes 37.84 seconds. As you can see from his splits here, there was never that much of intense pace for this 1500, and even though he did negative split from the first half to the second, it was just not happening today. For the winner of this heat, Jake Whiteman ran a 3:36.9, and in second was Jose Pinto, followed by Jonah Koech, Romain Mornay, Samuel Fistrom, Andrew Koskaren, and Anas Asai, and finishing behind them was Jakob Ingebrigtsen. This obviously was a huge disappointment, and it definitely caught some people off guard, because Jakob, whenever he competes, is known to throw down incredible marks. And it's also worth mentioning that Jakob was a 2-time World Indoor Champion this season from the World Indoor Championships, as he won the 1500 and the 3000. Despite having an injury that lasted for months, it still seemed like Jakob was going to put the pieces together and somehow find his way to the final and at least challenge for a medal. But this is the first time that something like this has ever happened to Jakob Ingebrigtsen. Even back in 2019, when Jakob was only 18, he still made it to the 5,000 and 1,500 meter finals, and he did that in the Doha World Championships. And following that season, every single year, he remained competitive whenever he reached the global stage. But 2025 has just not been a good year for Jakob. He honestly put together a decent race here, and his final 100 was still 13.34, which is pretty impressive if you ask me, and it seems to me like he could probably throw down a competitive 1,500 time. But when it comes to the global stage, when it comes to a world championship like this, you need to be in extremely savvy racing condition. It's just not about the time here, it's about the ability to race, it's about the ability to respond, and Jakob just did not have that today. In a post-race interview, Jakob explained that this race was just terrible. It was his first time experiencing this, and it just overall was not a good moment. However, Jakob is still planning on running the 5,000 in just a few days. And if you know anything about Jakob running in the 5,000 meters, you will know that since 2020, Jakob has not lost a single 5,000, as he won the 2022 World Champs, the 2023 World Champs, and last year's Olympic Games in the 5,000. Now, 2025 is definitely a different story right now. He's dealing with injury, and it clearly is affecting his racing. But he also stated in that interview that he's probably in better 5,000 shape right now than the 1,500. And this would make sense. Jakob's engine is just insane. He has such an ability to hold pace for a long time, and even though a kick will likely be required to win the 5,000, I still think Jakob does have a decent chance to not just qualify into the final, but potentially challenge for a medal in the 5K. Anyways, I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter. Do you think Jakob has a chance in the 5,000? Do you think he's set to bounce back in 2026? And who do you think is going to win the 1,500 now? Especially given that Azzedine Hobbs and also Fanuel Koech did not advance. And those were the two fastest athletes in the world. So now it is wide open. There's Cole Hawker, there's Josh Kerr, there's Jake Whiteman. Leave your thoughts down below on who you think is set to win. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time.